Next up is our keynote, who is sure to set a tone for a growth mindset as we spend time learning together over the next few days. Dr. Elizabeth Joy is a founder and CEO of Joy Society, author of You Survived, Now What? I love that. And a former director of Mentor Central Ohio, an affiliate of the National Mentoring Partnership. As an organizational psychologist and executive coach, she provides critical guidance to develop holistically healthy, successful Fortune 100 leaders and organizations. I've had the privilege of sitting with Dr. Joy this morning, and I told her I feel like we go back to the sandbox, so I've already made her my bestie in my mind. And I know our team is super excited to have her here with us this year. Many of you have already experienced her refreshing, passionate insight and perspectives in the live and recorded trauma-informed, culturally responsive trainings she developed for us last year. Known as a disruptor, today she is going to challenge and support us in redefining our purpose, a better us for a better them. Please join me and put your hands together for a warm welcome for our keynote speaker, Dr. Elizabeth Joy.
Thank you, love. Y'all got me about to cry. I haven't even started yet. Whew, goodness gracious. How are you feeling today? How are you feeling today? We got, 20-some bands in the room? When's the last time you were in a room with 20-some bands at one time? Right? That's a good start. All right, well, I'm excited to be here with you. As you all know, it's your first time in quite some time. I forgot I'm supposed to bring this down. Being able to be in person. And again, I want to shout out Lynn. Again, girl, woo, hard work. If you've never put on a conference, then you don't know. But I told her I did it once, like 15 years ago, and I was like, yeah, no, that's not for me. So thank you, Lynn, and your team for such an amazing job in bringing this together. I want to kick us off by giving you a warning. I come with warning labels. Those of you who were with me last year know that when anyone is bold enough to give me the mic and the stage, I have a very intentional goal, one goal every single time that I'm on stage, and that is to make you uncomfortable. Because growth and comfort don't go together. And so I'm gonna love on you too, of course. But I just wanna give you a heads up that if you start feeling uncomfortable, we are on track, all right? Okay, so before we kick it off, who's in the room? Because I know we got some people. Xavier, where's Xavier? He was over there somewhere. He went to the restroom, I think. Who were the folks that I got to hang out with last year with some impact people? Yes, I remember. How are you? It's only 2, 3. Okay, yes, good to see you. Yeah, so we had a lot of fun last year. You guys, it's been a year ago that we did that together in last September. And so I focus a lot of my work on trauma-informed and culturally responsive work. I'm a licensed clinician, among some other degrees and all the student loan debt to go with it. But I'm really passionate about people and about being different in how we show up to others and ourselves. And so before we get started, I want to just give you all a moment to toot your horns, because I feel like in this field, when you're in the helping profession, we do a lot of loving on other peeps. Like, we are so good at that, but we don't love on ourselves. And before I give you all an opportunity, and I do mean like I'm gonna actually ask you to give some wins, I just wanna shout out the staff as well as the founders who are in the room, Mr. Resnick. I'm an organizational consultant, and I do organizational consulting all over the country for both corporate, big boy companies, right, and nonprofits. And I did my homework. And I don't know if you all know, but I wanted to shout out, when I looked at the trajectory of this organization, and Amber can confirm that she was with me while I did it, I just was like literally saying wow out loud. Because first of all, 1 year after starting in 1993, you all did a Girls' Day in technology. Y'all, we just now talking about girls in tech like in the last 2 years. It's 2022, right? There was a Girls' Day in tech in 1993. Some of us in here weren't even born yet, I'm pretty sure, right? And just 3 years later, there was a second Clubhouse, the first non-US community-based Clubhouse. And the network was founded to support folks around the world. 3 years in, is anybody familiar with Starbucks' background and how their journey to being where they are? What you know about it?
So now Starbucks has its whole initiative.
No. I'm talking about in the day, like history. Okay. Because most people don't know, and I'm going to tell you this, because you know Starbucks. Starbucks went like 20 years with only one location. 20 years. So I just want you all to know, because I'm sure Mr. Resnick is not going to run out here and toot his own horn, right? But when I looked at the history of this organization as an organizational consultant who digs all up in people's business for the good and the bad, I just wanted to shout out the work that you've done and make sure you all know, because I know when you're on the ground floor, sometimes you don't really pay attention to those things, or it's just not, on your radar. But this organization, especially as a nonprofit, to have grown the way it has, shout out to you, Gail. Obviously, you're a huge part of that, and all of the folks. You got folks working here for 15 years. It's just not something you see every day. So I just want to pause and thank you guys for it. I mean, it's just, you just don't see it. You just don't see it. So, Brendan, we're going to go around real quick, because I need y'all to practice loving on yourselves, because that's what we're going to do. Lisa already told you that this week is for you. So I want to give you all an opportunity to tell me about some dopeness you've done with your youth in the last year or so. And no humility is not allowed at this time. Who's ready? There we go. Yes, ma'am.
I've got one, but it's for my colleague, Wendell. We opened the 50th Best Buy Teen Tech Center in Gary, Indiana on June 1. We had an amazing grand opening with about 150 people, and our average daily attendance in our club has gone from 7 to 45 people a day.
Okay. Now, I want you all to take note on how good she did with no humility. That was awesome. Seriously, because we are way too big on humility sometimes. So I love the way you just said all of the wins. So it was how many?
The grand opening at 150 attendees.
150 attendees, so that we make sure the other folks here.
Our average daily attendance has gone from 17s to 44.
17s to 44 teens a day, just for the folks who are not in the room. That's what's up. Thank you. Who else has a win? Okay, I love that you guys are ready to share the wins. Usually I got to wrestle with people. This is good.
Yeah, I have a win. I like to do the individual wins because we're not at 45 yet. I'm from South Salt Lake City, which is in Utah, and there's a young transgender girl who's almost 16. She'll be 16 next month, but she's identified as transgender since I met her in the 3rd grade. And when she was kicked out of her house recently, or left her home recently, she came to the Clubhouse. She came to the Teen Tech Center. And my staff know where she is. They know what she's doing. They know that she's going to school. And when she turns 16 next month, she'll apply for a job and work for us. So I'm super proud of my staff for that
Yes. Ow, ow! Yes. Who else has another win? Another win that's not going to make me cry. No one? Come on, guys. There's too many people. Here we go. Yes. I need one more from over here. So just be ready.
Hey, everybody.
Okay.
My name is Chantel, pronouns they, she. I'm in Las Vegas, and I assisted one of my teens with getting the $20,000 scholarship, and she won.
Woo! Yes. 20 stacks, I'll take it. Lynn, you're writing my check, 20, right? All right, here's one more up front.
Hey, I'm Jill Sheeher from Cleveland.
Cleveland, Ohio in the building?
Oh, yeah,
Sorry.
Ohio, yeah. Woo! So my teens the beginning of the summer, put together a game called Lunacy. It's a card game that already existed, but there's an online site where you can go and make your own cards. These kids did their own photography, their own Photoshop. They made all of the different changes that they needed to make. We uploaded our images. They gave us our printout, and then they said, we can't produce this deck. And I said, why not? And she said, well, because these are professional photographs, and we're not allowed to do that. You have to have your own original work. And I said, oh, no. These are original works. My kids did such a good job that they were taken for professionals.
Wow. Mistaken for professional. I love it. All right, so obviously a lot of winning going on around these parts. And so when I was, Lynn contacted me and asked if I might consider keynoting. And I found out the theme was reinventing our futures and reimagining our world. I got chills right away. And when I think about the Clubhouse Network, I think about innovation. And so between those two things and the work that I got to do with the Impact team last year, it led me to the title for my presentation, which is Redefining Our Purpose, a better us for a better them. And so this is where the disruption starts, because you're used to thinking about them all the time, right? So we're not going to do that for the rest of the time. That's why I let y'all get it in early. Okay? So from now on, we're thinking about them other than this next piece. And then this is it. So Gail shared with us you all's research. This is huge. Again, 97% of folks saying that the most important source of support for setting high goals and expectations for themselves is the Clubhouse Network. That's a big deal. And so, Brendan, we got one more run of some feedback. I want you all to think about these youth that you work with, and this is your last time, so you better get really serious, because again, you're not going to get to think about them for the next 30 minutes, okay? I want you to look at those 8 spheres of successes, as I call them, on the screens, and I want you to tell me what you see in them or what you hope for them to have by, let's say, between 25 and 30 years old. I need at least one from every sphere. Who's got me? I need 8 people to hit all 8. What do you imagine for your youth? If you think about them at between 25 and 30 years old, what would their life look like in each one of those areas of life? You with me? I would guess nobody's taking the easy one, career. That's y'all got the career game on lock, right? Who's doing?
For our now teens, when they're in their mid-20s, what I'd really like for them in their careers is to be happy.
Okay.
Because I feel like for a lot of us in the room, that hasn't been true. So I want them to be happy and successful how they define success and not how society has defined it for them.
Girl, I'm going to get off stage and we walk off. That's the whole speech right there. Yes. Yes. We could really say that for all of those areas. Yes.
I kind of want to jump off of that and say that for a lot of the youth that I deal with, we have this large stigma on mental health. I come from, the Latin, the Mexican border town city, El Paso, Texas, so a lot of them deal with, you're not allowed to show emotions in their household. Mm-hmm. And so the time that I would usually spend teaching, workshops and projects on technology, we're having a lot of mental health conversations and talking about anxiety and why it's okay to express your feelings. And so something that I really want to see them along the line in the future is being more expressive emotionally rather than just being creative and being
Yes.
embracing in technology. I want them to be able to talk about their wants, their feelings when they're scared, when they're sad, and not feeling ashamed for doing that.
Yes. Ooh, y'all, it's getting hot in here. We got right in the back. Yes. Oh, right there, and then in the back. It's fine. You both got it.
So I'm just looking at emotional, and it's something that I do with my teens every day, like, and I'm in the national capital, DC. So like just them going about their lives and things come up, and this is just my social work field,
Yeah.
is trying to understand why someone acts something of you. So for instance, I had a teen who got into it with his mom. Had he understood why she was asking of what she needed him to do, his response would have been different. And so as they mature into adulthood, understanding why someone is asking something of you will produce your response. Because if you understand why that person's asking you that, regardless if you want to do it or not, you're more than likely not to respond aggressively
Yeah.
or with attitude, so on, so on.
And I would say that applies to social and family and romance, because those are all relational spheres. And so it's emotional, but it's also being able to be strong in how you have healthy relationships. So I need somebody to cover after this if you're not on these. I need finance, I need physical and spiritual.
So I was going to hit spiritual.
My God.
I work with an indigenous club, and a big focus of working with indigenous youth is making sure that we create space for their culture, their traditions, and honoring that, and also enabling it as a tool of their expression. And so what I would love to see when they're hitting 25 is that they're both representing that traditional element, hitting that spiritual element through their culture, and using that to boost their voice and their identities as individuals.
Yes. Ooh, it's getting heavy. I'm not crying. Okay, finance and physical.
So for finance, really, I just want these kids to have a healthy balance of understanding what success looks like for them in terms of finance, and not base that on what they see on TV or TikTok. To be able to learn from the mistakes of others, including the ones who are working with them. So
Like
they
you.
don't, yeah, definitely like me. Hey, I still
Okay.
got student loans. But just to be able to just learn from people's mistakes and have have a better foot forward, so they don't have that pressure on them as they get older.
All right. Who's got me on physical? Brandon, they making you work. You getting all your steps in right here.
Annie from Australia. I mean, if I could get them to just stop drinking energy drinks like 4 a day, that would be amazing. But very similar to what other people are saying about mental health, is realizing that the brain is a part of the body, and that everything is interconnected with sleep, being on their screens, having energy drinks, moving their body. It's a very different world that we're living in now from the ones that we grew up in. And yeah, just thinking about our body as a whole, which includes our minds, and breaking that stigma on mental health.
Yes, the intersectionality. I love it. All right, Brandon, you've been an amazing helper. I might promise not to have you back up. I think not. Okay, so what about you, though? What about you in these 8 spheres? Dolores, right? Dolores kicked us off. What did you say? You said you want them to be happy in their career, because most of us aren't. So if you want to, right in this moment, because it'll only take a few seconds and won't be too distracting, you can go to that link and take a quick assessment of your 8 spheres, just to see, where you're at with which ones are higher rated than others, or you can just take a picture of that and look at it later. But I just want you to pause for a moment and think about how easy it was for you to envision an amazing life for the youth that you work with. And I want to ask you, have you been envisioning that for yourself? Have you even thought about those things for yourself? If you haven't, why not? Why is it easier for you to think about them and not yourself? Right? I see a lot of y'all like, I want my score right now. Okay. Get your scores. Get your scores. I'm going to give y'all a minute. Brendan, I told you I wasn't going to ask you, but he keeps shaking his head. I need to know what he's thinking. Do you mind? Yes. Yes. Yes.
No, I was going to wait and, do it later. But no, I was shaking my head
about the.
Yeah, when you said, have you thought about it? Mm-hmm. First, I thought about it. I'm a little older.
Me too, even though I was 21.
Right. I got a few years, but yeah, this is something that I have been doing a lot of thinking about. If you look at my background, I might look like Forrest Gump a little bit when you look at my career. But the quote I wrote down when you said it is one that inspired me to make the changes I did, including the role that I've been in for 2 years now, is what would you do today if you knew you would not fail? And a lot of my younger life was driven by the fears that I heard as a child, either negative things, where negative people said negative things. And that stuff, you don't realize how much it really impacts you along the way, that you're making safe choices financially, career, and those type of things to put ahead for a future that could potentially be the exact same with a lot more joy if you weren't driven by the fear.
I didn't pay him to say that, y'all.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. So that's why you were shaking your head, because you got that historical experience of heaviness and you're coming into some new insight. So here's my question. What if I told you that a better you equals a better them? How would that change the way you show up to what you're doing right now? You guys are getting amazing outcomes, right? Those survey results are not to be blinked at, right? Which is awesome. But I don't know about y'all, but I always try to go higher, right? I want more. I want the most, right? And I know, based on my time with the Impact team, and I got to tell you all, I'm a social worker, but the mentoring field just hits different. Y'all care on a level like no other. I'm not saying that because I'm standing here. I swear, there's something about mentors, right? It just, the passion is different. And so I want you to just think about, if you think right now, what you probably do, that everything you're supposed to do and say is for them. What if I told you that perhaps if you put yourself first, put myself first. What if you put yourself first? Is it possible that by you leveling up in those 8 areas, that the great work you're doing would be amplified even more? Possible? Maybe? There's no time. Yeah, girl, we're going to talk about that. So this is us. In a lot of ways, and y'all going to get to know me in a little bit here. I'm not standing here in judgment because I have a story myself, but we're showing up to help others and we're broken. So this is how we look, and then we showing up helping them, and we're doing great work, right? But what if we weren't on crutches? And what if we weren't in a metaphorical, situation where, we are hampered? The best of us is hampered, right? This is my story too. Now, this is a no judgment zone, right? Because I see y'all judging my fro right now, and I need it to come down. Okay? But I grew up as little Liz, always wanting to help other people. I knew at an early age I was going to be, I don't know if I had the word counselor because I'd never been in counseling, so I didn't know that I knew what counseling was. But I got my degree in social work early on and went into the field, and I was doing great work too. But I'm going to read you an exact letter that I wrote. Coincidentally, what was that? 14 years ago. It's on the slide. Thanks. This is the letter that I wrote 14 years ago, almost to the day, August 21st. This is, as a licensed clinician, I graduated in 2001, so I'm well into the field, right, doing my thing. Licensed social worker. This is my letter. These are exact words. Below are my thoughts that came to me overnight and this morning. I wanted to share them with you. I want your honest feedback, regardless of how you think I will feel about what you say. Now, I sent this in an email to my mom, my brother, and my 2 best friends at the time. It took me 12 years to figure out that I'm a total mess and that I have no complete, genuine care for anyone except my mother and my brother. This is evidenced by the fact that outside of these 2 people, I am willing to rid my life of anyone else the moment they present a challenge to me. My 2 best friends are the only people outside of my mother and brother who have been able to begin to genuinely care, that I've been able to genuinely care about, though I have not reached 100%. Though I love them and appreciate who they are, in times of challenge, I isolate myself from them, evidence that my care for them is not complete. It took me 12 years to figure out that I don't like people and people don't like me. All this time I had a false sense of confidence, believing that I like myself and believing that I'm better than most others, when in fact, I am in desperate need of help and improvement in many ways. I've concluded that the drive and focus I've had on work and money was mostly from the fact that deep down, I'm avoiding focusing on myself and acknowledging the anger that lives in me every day. Since the demise of my business and the failure I've experienced in every business opportunity other than an office job, which I'm starting to fail at because I'm forced to deal with people every day. Oh, this is funny now. It wasn't funny then. I have experienced great depression and often have suicidal thoughts. Without having business to focus on, I've been forced to slow down, and in doing so, have seen more and more of my reality. The more and more I see, the more I don't like, and the more I realize that while I've been under the impression I made so much progress in my recovery, I really haven't. I've been living a lie and truly believed it. The more I've seen of the truth, the more I don't want to be alive. The only reason I have found to live is the only true care I have in the world, my mother and brother. Interestingly, the very thing I lack the most of is the only thing keeping me alive: love. When I think about my reality and how bad off I really am, I wonder why it is these 4 people have found a way to love me and actually care. The traits and actions I display are the exact same traits and behaviors I discontinue relationships with people over. Yet these 4 people have chosen to stay around. Part of me feels appreciative to have them and loved by them, and part of me wishes I didn't, because it would be easier to end the struggle if that weren't the case. So I'm here faced with 3 choices, one of which isn't an option. Commit suicide, which I can't do because my love for those who love me far outweighs my love for myself. 2, continue life as is, liking no one and having no one like me. Or 3, fight through a battle I'm not very confident I can win. My current choice is to fight the battle, though I know it will not be easy and will be very painful. I wrote this as a licensed social worker, doing amazing things, helping amazing people, having stories just like yours about all the people who I have helped. And that's why I'm asking you to consider yourself, because we can do this amazing work and be a hot mess ourselves. And while organizations have a lot of work they need to do in being more supportive in actual self-care, we as individuals have to take that step and be willing to make the time. There's still going to be 24 hours in the day, no matter what. When the last day that we live, right, there's going to be 24 hours, right? We get to choose that, and we have to choose wisely. For me, I was successful but empty. I was just literally surviving life. And I think for a lot of us, it's the high that we get, that good feeling to help others, that makes us keep doing it. It's like medicine, right? You with me? You guys know what that feels like? It just makes you feel a little bit better. So I went on this journey to be who I am, to show up, because I am proud to tell you that I haven't had suicidal thoughts in years, although I went several years having those thoughts. But I'm going to disrupt you by giving you a different way to think about what it means to do what you do for a living. And it is a journey, and so I'm giving you 3 parts of my journey to get where I am today. In 2012, I wrote this book that I just read something to you from. But even when I was writing it, I literally cried at night, every night, feeling like someone might take their own life or something bad happen if I don't hurry up and write this book, right? Because it's on my responsibility to help everyone in the world, right? Right? Because we're here to change the world, right? But I was aware of these concepts of self-care. I have a section on it in my book, right? And so I was aware. We all know about self-care, right? Like, you know, and I teach it. I was teaching it. It was surface, though, even though I thought I was doing it big back then. Anyway, 2015, this was the beginning of a new way of thinking about what it means to be in the helping profession, a human service worker, right, a social worker. I was texting my friend trying to tell her how I was feeling, right? And I couldn't figure out the words, so I started Googling, and then I go to images, and I was trying to find an image to say, I'm carrying all this weight, and I don't, like, it's just too heavy. And I found, this is the exact image I found, I still have it. And it said, I've tried carrying the weight of the world, but I realize I only have 2 hands. And for some reason that day, it hit me because I didn't know the words I was searching for, but when this came up, it was like a clue to me. Maybe I'm not supposed to be carrying the weight of the world because I only have 2 hands. So it was the beginning of me giving myself permission to consider that maybe I need to show up to this work, show up to caring about others, show up to loving the world, all the people I've never met, a little bit differently, Gail, because we sacrifice so much. And I know we wouldn't say that we would go back and not do it, but there is a price that we pay, right? We know that. You all know that. You know the sleep that you don't have as a result of that choice, right? The last piece, if you don't have this book, shameless plug, if I could make money off the sales, I'd probably be rich right now because I tell everybody about this book. Eckhart Tolle, in chapter 9 in his book, he talks about our primary purpose. And this, you talk about disruption. I need y'all to get this book. Do not read it from the beginning because this is straight steak and potatoes when it comes to like the kind of learning that's in it. And this is like chapter 9. So I need y'all to go to chapter 9 first and then come back around later. But this was the first time I got introduced to thinking about purpose differently. And so typically when we think about our life's purpose, we think about what we do, what you all do. Raise your hand if you feel like your purpose is to help children, save the world, help these babies get where they're going, stuff like that. Yes? This is your purpose. Yes? So Tolle gives us something different. He talks about purpose from a perspective of primary and secondary purpose. He explains that our primary purpose is to be aligned with the universe. If you're a Christian, it's the scripture, seek ye first the kingdom of God and all things will be added unto you. But just really being whole within yourself, focused on your being, that's your primary purpose. Your secondary purpose is what you're doing in the world. No way, you guys are about to come for me, right? But if you read it, and it took me probably about 4 or 5 months to really read it over and over again and be willing to be disrupted in my little truth that I know for sure. My purpose is to change the world, you know what I mean? And be willing to say, because he made some good points. So he explains that when you have your primary purpose in order, which is being centered within yourself, being holistically healthy in those 8 spheres, you are enabling your secondary purpose, which you're now calling your primary purpose, to happen in a majorly more dramatic way. You are aligning yourself with God, with the universe, with all the things that happen that are beyond our understanding because you are aligned. And so when I read this, it gave me, again, I didn't just read it. I was like, oh, okay, I'm about to like put this down. We're going to put this over here. And then I'm just going to be right with myself. And then we're going to make the world better. Like, no, it was like, ooh, this is hard. Like, this doesn't feel right, right? Because it doesn't feel right as I'm saying it to you right now. I can tell on your faces. But I'm telling you, I've tried it both ways. And I can tell you for sure that being aligned, being whole, paying more attention to your physical health, you getting some sleep, how you feel emotionally, your happiness, right, is going to make everything you do for these babies even better. By the way, you are modeling for them, yes? You think they don't know that you're not happy? Do you know that they see you on Team No Sleep, yes? But you telling them they need to rest. Okay? You tell them they need to drink water, but you on Team Dehydrated. Hello? You tell them they need to get their savings together, but your budget is, let me check, right? So we want the best for everybody but ourselves. And we want them to follow our directions that we're not following. Hello? So I traded in my I'm saving the world perspective with a different way to show up. And I will tell you, my emotional well-being has changed forever because of this. My job is to be the light in the space that I'm in. I sat down this whole idea that I'm supposed to be changing the world, because honey, that is, okay? So my job right here is to be the light, even though you're uncomfortable. Hopefully you catching these good vibes I'm sending, right? And if I do that today in this moment, boom, check, I'm good, right? Just relieving myself from that pressure of all these people I've never met and all the babies I've never seen, but they need help, and they understand, and who's going to help them, right? Just being the light in the space that I'm in. It's a different perspective. And so everything that I do now is about redefining success and professionalism, leveraging emotional intelligence. Because y'all know about SELs, right? That's another thing we do for the kids, but have you had your emotional intelligence checkup? Do you leverage emotional skill sets to ensure that you understand the why behind, my guy over here talked about knowing the why behind behavior, right? So we are more than what we do, right? And so having this new perspective, it hasn't caused me to help less people, because I know some of y'all like, because I got this list of people I need to help, and that's a perspective, right, that I can't adopt. And so it's about shifting to you so that you can give more to them. The interesting thing, I just finished this research. I did primary research. I interviewed 13 high-performing executives. I had some former NBA athletes, some former NFL Super Bowl champions, all of them making $500,000 a year or more in annual salary, most of them millionaires. My question to them was, what are the non-work experiences that impacted their career path success? These are 13 randomly selected elite performers. Every single one of them. I didn't ask what are the negative life experiences. I just said, what are the personal experiences? Every single one of them told me a story of a hard experience early on in childhood that triggered them to respond by performing in order to mitigate the psychological impact of that experience. Now, I'm a clinician. That's not exactly how they said it. They told me their stories, and of course I did what we do. We go in and we put words on it and stuff. But it's basically what they said. And so they were using success as a protective factor. This is the theory that I was able to develop. And I don't have a lot of time to go into this, but this is why I wanted to share this little bit of this research with you, because here's the thing. These are some of the people that our youth look up to, and quite frankly, I think we have, I know that we have some really biased opinions about successful people, whatever even that means. I'm talking career success. We assume that they're bad words that I can't say because I'm doing really good. I haven't cussed yet, Amber. Yes. But they are paying the price. So in this bottom right corner, they have this career path success. They're well known. They're doing it big. They've got this notoriety, but they're also dealing with work-life conflict because they're on Team No Sleep too, ma'am, in the back. And they are insatiably, as you are, pushing towards their career goals. Insatiable. No matter how many kids you help, you got to help another one. We're going to do it more. We're going to stay up later. We're going to work more hours. They're doing the same thing. So it's like all these parallels between these two groups of people that maybe you would say are not aligned. But quite frankly, it's an unhealthy commitment to work. And there's research to show this phenomenon of career success and personal failure for elite performers. That research is not new. But we also have an unhealthy commitment to work. And maybe we validate it because we're saving some babies, but I don't know. Can we do both? Can we be happy and help the babies? Can we do both? I've been able to do it, but I will tell you it does require an absolute, totally different perspective, a different truth that you operate in every day. And yes, it does require that you leave work at 6 sometimes, not every time, rather than 9 at times, right? Because you do have your health to worry about. And you do have a boo thing at home that mostly loves you, but may not love you anymore if you don't quit working so much. I sound like I might know a thing about that. I'm very balanced. No, I'm a work in progress, okay? I'm teaching y'all while I'm learning, okay? But it's like the thing that I'm passionate about is gonna kill me, literally, if I don't do this different. I'm passionate about us being able to do this work and do it well, internally and externally. That's really where I'm going with this. So here's the solution. It's the title of my presentation, Redefining Our Purpose. If our purpose is going to continue to be that we're going to drive ourselves into the ground so that we can help a bunch of people, you know, we're going to keep getting the outcomes we're going to get. And I don't know how that's going to inspire a youth to then grow up and do something different than us. So yes, it's awesome that they're getting careers. And yes, it's awesome that we're making the progress we are. But in my mind, success is all 8 of those spheres, right? We have to quit defining ourselves by career. We are whole human beings, right? And so I'm asking you to consider that you redefine what it means to do what we do so that they can also do that. Because if they see you killing yourself to do your job, what makes you think that they're not going to grow up and kill themselves doing their job, whether it's helping others or running an organization or being a football player or whatever it is they dream to do? I'm asking you to consider that we have to do good work on the inside to really, really do good work in this field. I'm asking you to consider deconstructing this truth that says that in order to be a good person, I have to kill myself helping people. That if I don't help them, fill in the blank. No one else is going to. Something's bad to me. You know what we do. My girl, you know, we talking, right? I'm asking you to ask yourself the hard question of why, what's behind, because in my research with these 13 elite performers, the why behind why they're killing themselves in their work, and I am one of them, so I'm not standing here in judgment. It is me, I am them, we are us, right? Was to feel better, was to mitigate the next situation in which someone didn't appreciate them or didn't love them or didn't accept them. We're doing that too, because it feels good to help people, because it doesn't feel good to look in the mirror and look how much work you might need to do on yourself, right? Because that helper's high we get, which is fine, but I'm just saying we can have both. I'm asking you to consider shifting from the change the world, save the world mentality to the be the light in the room you're in mentality, to give yourself a little bit of a break. I can assure you, if we all do it, we're still going to be reaching people in an even more healthy way and modeling for them something different about success. Because specifically the Clubhouse Network, they are getting careers. Like, I think of all the nonprofits that I know of and have worked with, I don't know that there's one that's even in competition. Gail would say, heck no, there is not, thank you, right? As it relates to specifically the career piece, right? And I'm here for it. But don't we want them to have it all? We want them to be happy too, right? Well, you gotta show them what happiness looks like. You gotta show them what healthy looks like. And you deserve it as much as they do. So here's my call to action. Let's change the world. but let's do it in a different way. Let's be self-disruptors, because you know disruption is a thing, right? Everybody is disrupted. Tech is disrupted. But I'm asking you to be a self-disruptor. While we still do this other disruption that we do, let's self-disrupt. Let's challenge ourselves to reconsider what's true. Let's reconsider what's the way, right? Let's reconsider the fact that we're actually choosing between success in this one area and success in those other 8. I'm asking you to believe that you can have it all. I don't stand before you telling you that I have a perfect life, but I do stand before you telling you without question, I have figured out how to continue to love on people, continue to help people, continue to go hard in my work, and continue to level up in the other areas of my life so that I'm also spiritually well, emotionally well, mostly physical. I'm on team dehydrate. Oh, shit, I did. I'm working on my hydration. That's one of my weaker areas. And I want to call out, if you're a leader or manager in the room, and we talked with Emily earlier about this, when we talk about trauma and hard stuff, I don't know why it is that we assume that it's for those people, whoever they are. Everybody in this room has a trauma story. I'm open to anyone that would like to raise their hand and tell me you ain't been through some stuff, because everybody's too old in here to not have at least a hard story. You know? Heck, coming out the womb is hard. So right off the top, you disqualify yourself as saying you've never been through something, because that's hard. It's hard on mama, it's hard on the baby, right? But we continue to have this perspective that we're gonna help them. Do y'all know that the trauma, the most common, the ACE study, y'all know that wasn't done on poor minority people, right? Do y'all know that? That was done on middle class, mostly Caucasian people who mostly were educated. Do y'all know that? So this whole idea that trauma is for them and therefore leveling up is for them and that they need help. No, we need help. Every single person in here needs to look in the mirror and say yes to self. And so if you are a leader, a manager, a owner, a funder, I'm talking to you too. Those 13 elite performers, right? I could be talking to them too, and I have talked to them too. They need this too. Trauma-informed everything, culture-responsive everything applies to them too. So if you are a leader and a manager, I am asking you to double dip on your call to action, which is that you look in the mirror, you say yes to you, you level up, because I know as a leader we sacrifice, and I'm not saying it's gonna be the same, but I'm just saying we have to be the ones who lead by example on what it looks like to be healthy, because if we keep telling people do self-care, whatever that even means, and it's just a term that at this point is overused, we're missing it. So let's be innovative in how we show up to this work so that we can think about, as amazing success stories as we have now, how much more amazing would it be if we too were giving them what we think they deserve, because you deserve it too. Thank you.